We're here at the Lincolnville Museum and Cultural Center, and we're about to open our production of Crossroads. And I have with me Nancy Grote, who's playing Marjorie Kinnan Rawlings, and also Ashley Carter, who's playing Norton Baskin. So Norton Baskin was her second husband. Some of you may know her history, but Nancy, talk to us a little bit about developing a character for Marjorie, because you've done it in a couple of different
I have played Marjorie, thanks to you, in a couple of different productions. The first one was My Friend Zelma, which was about the invasion of privacy trial that occurred between Zelma Kayson and Marjorie Rawlings. And also A Tea with Zora and Marjorie is another play that I appeared in. But what I find fascinating about Marjorie on a personal level is that I just have a lot of identification with her. And I just think it's kind of odd that I got cast as her, because I'm a transplanted northerner. I have not always felt comfortable in the environments I have found myself in. Marjorie was a very complex, conflicted person. I think all of us can identify with that at various times in our lives. But I just have a real, working on her this long now, I have a real sensitivity to her, I hope. But
Oh, I think absolutely.
It's been really rewarding.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, Marjorie was born in Washington, D.C., went to the University of Wisconsin, am I right? Okay. So then she came to Florida with her first husband, actually, and bought the farm, and she loved it. She fell in love with rural Florida, and her first husband, did not.
Right.
So
she hated cities, and she had spent time on a farm as a youngster, and I think that's why she just clicked with the Florida scrub and the inland world down there around Cross Creek so much.
So Ashley, why don't you tell us a little bit about Norton?
Well, Norton is a hotel man from Union Springs, Alabama. And what I like about him is he has a great sense of humor. He's a great storyteller. And he's a great counterpoint to his wife. Because Marjorie could be a tad bit difficult. But I think Norton was sort of the lightness, the happy, jokey kind of, to pull her back into reality. Don't take yourself so seriously. And what I really like about the play is that it's basically a love story. And this actually happened. And what they're talking about is a lot of light comedic stuff, but it's also a lot of very heavy stuff. And it's about two real people. And just a fascinating story, I think, about a brilliant writer and her husband.
Brilliant raconteur.
Yeah, brilliant storyteller.
And it was difficult for them because they were separated for quite some time when he went overseas with the American Field Service. But they were also separated here in Florida because she would sequester herself down at Cross Creek, and he'd be up in St. Augustine running the Castle Warden Hotel. And, it was just a lot of back and forth. They wrote hundreds of letters, which amazes me to this day that
and the fact that those letters still exist, and that's because Norton Baskin, after his wife died years later, he gave all of them to the archive at the University of Florida. So it's marvelous.
Right, it's a treasure trove of St. Augustine history and old Florida history, really.
Yeah,
that's important that we still have.
And I think it's very important to keep writers like Marjorie Kinnan Rawlings and Zora Neale Hurston, and we've got to keep these people alive. Their works are certainly, probably still read, but if it's not continually revived here and there, i.e. with a classic theater or outfits like that, then I don't know if they're teaching Marjorie in school anymore.
Well, and there are a lot of young writers who are inspired, just like Nancy was saying that she really identifies with Marjorie, and young women who are writing that really have a lot of identity with her. Right. When we first did this play, we went to Cross Creek, but we also went to the cemetery where they are buried.
Side by side.
Absolutely.
That was very moving.
Very
because it really drives home the point that, there they are.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah, and they really lived, they really existed. you know.
And one thing that I noticed is that because she wrote the book, The Yearling, her burial plot has a fawn on it.
Right.
And the first time we went, there were a lot of fountain pens
Yeah.
that had been left on her grave.
People do go to visit the
They make
gravesite, and they
pilgrimage
set
to,
down
yeah,
pens and
to visit.
pencils, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
they probably have to clear them away at some point.
maybe somebody collects them. Yeah.
And Zelma Kayson, her good friend who did sue her, is buried about 50 feet away.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's some very, very interesting stories there. And when we started to work on this play a few years ago, and there's still folks around who knew Marjorie and have wonderful stories to tell them. I just was at the St. Augustine Historical Society, and I was talking about the play. And someone said to me, oh, you know, she had a terrible fear of flying. And I didn't know that. Because in one of her letters, she talks about taking her first plane ride to New York. And her response to that was,
I loved it. I am thoroughly sold.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So
That's not how I feel today about flying, however.
I think it was different back then.
It was fun and exciting back then.
But again, there are a lot of people who can tell us a lot of things about her, who can remember things.
And Norton lived so much longer than Marjorie that a lot of people in this area did know him and did, you know, mingle with him and talk to him, and he got interviewed a lot.
Yeah. And he loved to talk, and he had a great memory for all these stories. He'd tell all the details, he knew everything, and he would do it with just his southern style, his charm. It was just a very fascinating character. Yeah.
He really is.
And what do you think about what they did with your hotel there, Ashley?
Oh, Ripley's? Gosh, you know, I think I liked it better as a hotel. I've been to Ripley's, though. I like Ripley's.
There's a place for Ripley's.
You know, a lot of buildings in this town have been torn down.
Yeah.
I've lived here a long time. And a lot of Florida, old Florida, is being removed. And the fact that that building is still there makes me happy. That's what I'll say about that.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's my answer for
No
that.
matter what's in it, right?
As long as they leave the old buildings, I'm happy, you know.
And in the play, they describe how it was built and furnished as a hotel. So we found all of these in the old St. Augustine record about the opening of it. And so just wonderful things that added to the story for us.
And these letters, these stories, it takes you right back there. You're right back, even though it happened relatively long time ago, it really wasn't that long ago.
Right.
Because people alive now knew these people,
Right.
some people. So you get kind of sucked back into the vortex of this world,
Yeah.
and World War II, and the writing, the Pulitzer Prizes, and Gone with the Wind, and going to the opening of that in
And
Atlanta.
it's easy to put yourself there because her writing and his writing is just so vivid.
Right.
So it just comes to life for
It
you.
sucks you in. You know?
Yeah.
The scene that you've seen recently is as while Norton is with the American Field Service in Burma. He was too old to be a part of really the regular enlistment, so he volunteered to be an ambulance driver. And as it turns out, that was one of the most dangerous jobs he could have during the war. So Marjorie's fretting about him while he's gone, and he's just beginning to tell her in this particular scene that they have a little newspaper that they publish over there, and his boss, Lieutenant Patrick, would like her to do a piece for them. So she does a parody of Emily Post. I don't know if people know who Emily Post is anymore, but Emily was Miss Manners, and Marjorie disliked her intensely. So she writes this parody of a young woman writing to ask what is the best way to ask for a non-alcoholic drink in a bar and still be able to enjoy it with her friends.
Typical Marjorie.
And
Sarcasm.
And what was wonderful for me was that I discovered it because it was written anonymously as she requested. So I found it at the American Field Service office in New York. I went through and tried to find when it was written, and I was able to get the rights to it, and we've now put that as part of the play.
And here it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a gold mine.
Yes.
It really is.
And how has it been working in that format as theater folks to be on the same stage but yet being separated and then using this writing? How has that been for you two?
I don't know. I've worked with Nancy before. I've worked with Deborah before, so I feel a connection with them. That's before even getting on stage. I feel connected to them. And then when I'm on stage, personally, I feel very connected to Nancy as a performer, and then I feel connected via the letters.
Mm-hmm.
So we're separate, but it's almost like we're connected. Where it's like there's a connection, you know. And then the story. I mean, it's a love story. It's not just a love story, but it is a love story about two people that are different, but somehow manage to find each other and come together in some very trying circumstances.
Right.
And as an actor, it's hard not to get kind of caught up in that myself, because I'm reading real letters and feeling that emotion.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's easy to feel
I
the
really,
connection for me.
I totally connect with what you're saying. I feel, and for me, it is a kind of a memory play for my character. I'm kind of reliving some of these moments, and then I'm jumping in and out of, you know, the real moment too. But I had the luxury of getting to look at Norton a little bit. We never make eye contact because we want to establish that this is all through the letters and through their correspondence with each other. And it's an interesting piece for me because I'd never worked in a play where I sometimes address the audience, then I'm back very solitary, or I'm dealing directly with Norton. It's a real mixed bag for an actress.
Yeah, it's a totally different experience.
And I love working with Michael.
Likewise, I'm sure.
And Michael.
But yeah, it's a totally different experience for me as an actor, because when I'm acting on stage, I'm trying to connect with my fellow actors. I'm listening to them and I want to look at them, and you know, you want to have that connection. So we're sort of limited in a way, but it's also a really good challenge because we're constrained in a way, but it's freeing too, because we can really get into these letters and let these magical words kind of do the work for us.
Yeah,
you know?
just let their words tell the story.
Yeah.
You know?
And they were
Yeah,
both great writers, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, she was very concerned about that. She didn't want him to
Yes.
come home and become a writer.
I love that line about, if you come down that gangplank, what is it? with a Pulitzer,
Yes.
I'm going to shoot you like a rat carrying the flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe a
Think she
little
was half
jealousy,
kidding.
who knows?
Yeah.